We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
So I am Raven.
I'm Doc.
Chad's here.
And Rogue's in the house.
Sweet. Okay, so today we are going to talk about curses.
Was it Snidely Whiplash that said curses all the time? From the cartoon?
Curses. Probably.
I don't know.
Raven's looking at me with a blank stare.
Was that like Natasha and... Was that Bullwinkle? Was that where Snidely was from?
I think Snidely was from Bullwinkle.
Because that was almost before my time.
I have no idea who Snidely is.
Snidely Whiplash, was that his name?
Yeah, it might have been with the Canadian Mountie one with Dudley Do-Right. I think it was Dudley Do-Right with Snidely Whiplash.
All right, I'm looking this up.
This is going way back.
Enough of this.
All right, so what'd you find, Doc?
It's from Dudley Do-Right.
Woohoo, you win a prize.
Snidely Whiplash. He's a blue-looking dude with a top hat and a cane.
Kind of all hunched over a little bit.
And, yeah, he likes to tie people up and put them on railroad tracks.
Usually the blonde girl.
Yeah, looks like it. Well, there's a redhead in here, too.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Curses.
Foiled again.
There you go.
So curses. One of the things about curses that I think is interesting is a lot of people don't think that they're real. A lot of people think that it's fake and just something of stories. We've talked a little bit here and there about how everything needs its opposite. You know, good needs evil, happiness needs sadness. You think you've got blessings, you've got curses. And on each side, it's all about intent.
Absolutely.
So the principles are common?
They're common, and in my opinion anyway, the only difference is blessings have good intent, curses have bad intent. The person giving, receiving, sending, it's all based on your intent. Someone could curse you, and if you have zero belief, zero faith in it, probably not going to do anything to you.
Yeah, I would say, even with blessings, there's generally a component of ritual, right? You can have goodwill towards someone, or you can have ill will towards somebody, but the way that becomes amplified is through ritual. So there are certain ways that people pray to try to amplify blessings. There are certain rituals people perform to amplify ill will, and these would be curses.
Right. And I think part of the ritual behind that is to help strengthen the faith behind it. If you don't do the ritual, I'm sure it would work if you had really strong faith. But let's face it, I think most people's faith wavers from time to time. I know mine does. Maybe I should only speak for myself. But I think the idea of the ritual helps kind of cement that
intent.
And if there's a ritual behind it, I think people are more likely to go, oh, this is real. This is a thing.
Right. It's not that... I don't know that it's necessarily that things need to be carried out in a certain way, but it is the fact that you are carrying it out in that way that amplifies.
Right. So, for example, if someone's making a curse, I would be more likely to believe it if they came out in like a black hooded cloak with red eyeballs than if they came waltzing in their Bermuda shorts and a Hawaiian shirt.
You want them to be like dressed up, ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, dress
the part, guys.
Yeah. It's a show. Be the actor in the show, as it were.
How about when we're not aware of the curse, though?
To me, that kind of depends on whether or not you believe it. Think if you're a person that says, I don't believe in this shiz, whatever, in general. However, let's say, we've talked about this a couple podcasts ago, but my cousin actually was cursed by her 2 ex-sisters-in-law. I don't think that she believed in curses until we kind of walked her through it. But they had sent to her a type 3 spirit to pester her. And she did believe in the type 3 spirit. I just don't know that she believed that it was sent to her until we talked about it a little bit. But we've talked about it before. Your house could be full of type 3s, and if you don't believe in the paranormal, you might think that you just had a lot of earthquakes, and that's why stuff was falling off your walls all the time. Or, you were sickly, and that's why you had headaches all the time. I don't know. Right. I really think it just depends on your level of... Now, let's say that you have an ex, and that ex brought back all of his stuff to you. If you're of the mind of, I think he's cursing me, or she's cursing me, and let's say he actually did, and you've got this box of stuff, it probably might affect you. Whereas if the ex just brought the stuff by and curses wasn't your thing and it wasn't on your mind, probably wouldn't do much.
Right. I think part of the power in the curse is convincing the person that they have been cursed.
Okay, let's go to the movie that I think we've talked about it here, Skeleton Key, with
Goldie Hawn's daughter. I can't think of her
Kate
name.
Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, and that was very interesting because I don't know if you've seen the movie, and I don't remember if we've talked about this one specifically on
It's
the
an
show.
old movie, so if you're having spoilers, it's your own fault.
It's not old. It's not like White
Well, I know,
Christmas.
but
Jeez.
it didn't come out like last year. I mean, it's been out for
Couple decades, probably.
Right.
Yeah, let's say about 15 years.
But one of the things that I thought was very interesting in that movie, in order for them to elicit the response they wanted to have, they needed to get her to believe in the voodoo.
Right.
Okay, and so there was a grooming of her to get her to believe in the voodoo so that they could then do their thing.
Right. That's all part of that ritual or intent, right? Trying to continually push that will onto somebody until they believe that the curse is a real thing.
Right.
Fun movie, though. Very, very interesting. When I say fun, very suspenseful and intriguing and interesting.
Right. That's a good movie. So I also think that people can live their lives in a way that open them up more easily to be affected by curses. If you're doing bad things in your life, the types of things that we talk about that would bring a type 3 into your life anyway, I think you're going to be open for that negative energy, the negative spirits. I think you'd also be more open for those curses. Whereas if you're living a more wholesome life, and by wholesome, you don't need to be, an avid churchgoer. I mean, if you're a good person and you're honest and you're, charitable and doing all these good things, I think you're less likely to be open to curses, whether you believe in them or not. Just kind of my general feel. Did that answer your question?
I thought that was wonderful. However,
I'm amazing.
I'm gonna toss a however.
No, not really.
There's that book that we've all been reading that I don't want to throw no spoilers out there, but there's a few instances where that might not be the right answer.
Right. And I am not an expert on curses. And the book she's talking about is John Zaffis's book called Haunted by the Things You Love. And we are going to talk about that as a bonus episode. And the bonus episodes will be available to our Patreons. So that will be a bonus episode.
And that book is all about curses and haunted items.
Right. Mostly a lot of haunted items. As everyone knows, John Zaffis in Connecticut has a museum of haunted items. And this is where he's got Annabelle and everything that he collects on investigations that the people are like, take away from me. He's got them.
So, some of these things were from Ed and Lorraine Lauren and their collection or not?
I don't actually think Annabelle is there because I follow Tony Spera, and he is Ed and Lorraine's son-in-law, and he has Annabelle.
He has Annabelle.
And John Zaffis is
a nephew.
A nephew, right? And
Okay.
I believe they have separate museums.
Okay. I always thought that John Zaffis had Annabelle, but I could be wrong. But that is for a different episode.
Right. The focus of the book is cursed objects or items, and we're kind
Right.
of talking about just curses
In general. But we are not experts on curses. So, we're also not experts on paranormal. We learn and we grow, and so everything that we talk about is new information, and we take it and run with it.
It's a practice, right?
Yes.
We're all just practicing.
We are. As I was kind of looking around, I found some interesting curses. And I was reading these. I'm like, each one of these could be an episode all on its own. But we're going to talk about them anyway. Because by the time we get to them, you'll have forgotten we've talked about it here. And it'll be all brand new. So one of my favorite ones, because I love everything ancient Egyptian. I think it's amazing. Everyone has heard of the curse of King Tut's tomb.
The Pharaoh's curse.
Exactly. The idea behind the Pharaoh's curse is anybody who's opened the tomb dies. And everybody that opened King Tut's tomb, they all died in very strange and mysterious and sudden. And I mean, no one lived to be old. Everyone died.
I was about to say,
younger.
everyone dies. I mean,
it wasn't because it was opened in like 1929
he
or
died
something.
at the age of 97
No, I mean,
pneumonia.
They all just died in and here's the thing. Is King Tut's curse. Now, we just barely said curses are real things, and it depends on the intent put behind them. And as I was doing research, I thought, well, I don't want to teach everybody how to do curses because most of the research I could find online was how to do it. And that's not the direction I wanted to go in. But as we've talked about it, it's about intent, and then also the mystique behind it. So, here's the debate. Was King Tut's tomb really cursed, or was it on the other end of the spectrum where instead of there's a curse and no one believes in it because they think it's all hokum, or was this there's nothing wrong with King Tut's tomb and they all died because they breathed, organisms.
Inhaled a bunch of mold or something.
Exactly. So this is kind of a two-sided coin.
Okay,
Right.
Doc.
All right, Doc.
Jump in, man.
Well, I'm just saying, it's very possible that there are going to be health issues related to
Stagnant
to
air
another-
in 2,000-year-old tombs.
thousands of years old, and I could really see if there were consequences from that people would attribute a curse to it, right? That maybe it wasn't that the tomb was cursed, but maybe people got sick and made this presumption that the tomb was cursed.
Exactly. I totally believe in curses. I think that they absolutely are a thing. But at the same time, it could go either way. Here's something interesting, though, that I think I had heard this a long time ago, but had forgotten about it. But a lot of people think that the sinking of the Titanic was part of King Tut's curse.
Oh, really?
And
Yes.
how was that?
Apparently, they found, and I don't know necessarily King Tut's curse, but an Egyptian curse. But it was under the King Tut thing that I was reading.
You guys didn't know that King Tut was the captain of the Titanic?
No, I didn't know.
Me either.
So apparently they found in King Tut's tomb or near King Tut's tomb, they found the sarcophagus of a priestess. You remember when they all killed, or when they would bury the pharaohs, they would bury half their household with them,
Yeah,
right?
I saw that documentary, The Mummy.
Right.
There was a mummy hand or something on the Titanic.
Brandon Fraser was on the Titanic. Yeah, so...
That was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They found this case. The case purportedly was on the Titanic, and the mummy was in England in some museum somewhere. Okay? And so the priestess is all pissed off because the curse, and they disrupted her burial, they disrupted her eternal sleep. So sunk the Titanic. And then later, several years later, they were able to unwrap her mummy, and on the inside of her mummy wrappings, is that the official term? Mummy wrappings? Is there, Doc, is there a term for that?
I would assume it's wrapping.
Anyway, when they unwrapped it, there was things written on the inside of her wrappings that said anybody that disturbed her rest would be cursed. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's the story on the internet.
Very interesting. I just read a story or watched a thing on YouTube how it's a conspiracy with the Titanic. We could make a whole episode about that.
That might be a fun one.
That would be fun. One of the things that I read online as I was researching was just the fact that, just for fun, let's say that curses are not a real thing. Okay? Just plain devil's advocate. But even if you believe in it and it doesn't happen, it can still undermine your belief. It can undermine your decision making. It can kind of cut your self-confidence down. So it can be kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. Power of our minds are incredible. If you believe something,
The placebo
oftentimes,
effect.
it can manifest. And
Sure.
I believe I've got $1 million in my bank account.
You keep doing
really
that. Will you
believe
believe
that.
for me too?
Yeah, there's a limit to that. There's a limit of things you can believe and have it come to pass.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a propensity for people to, if you're a believer in curses, as things aren't going right in your life, you want to make sense of chaos. You want to find an explanation for why bad things are happening, and sometimes people do. I think they fall into this idea that, oh, I've been cursed. Whether they have or not, in a lot of ways it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, so let me tell you a little story about my ancestors. This could be a very long story. I will keep it short. But basically, on my dad's side of the family, we have Graham ancestors back in Scotland. You hear of Scotland, and what do you think of? You think of clan wars and, raping and pillaging and burning down barns and, all the wars between the clans. And that was a thing. They were called the Border Reavers. And I forget the exact number, but there was like 67 of these families roughly that lived on the border of England and Scotland. They were just terrible people. Not so much in the Highlands. In the Highlands, they were, respectable and but down on the borders, not so much. And
And those terrible people were your relatives,
yeah,
right?
they were. Oh, and it gets worse
Okay.
or better.
Just checking.
So of these 67-ish families, they're all bad, but 2 of them were really, really bad: the Armstrongs and the Grahams. So see,
Things are making sense.
you're like, hey, I'm starting
Connecting the dots.
to connect the dots, and they were just horrible. And I don't know much about the Armstrongs because they're not my family, and I've studied the Grahams a little bit. But the Grahams were really bad. Think Mafia of Scotland, in the 14, 15, 1600s. I mean, they were into money laundering and fraud. And I mean, you think of any crime you could possibly do now, they did it then.
Now I'm just picturing The Godfather, but with a Scottish accent.
And a kilt.
And a kilt.
In a kilt. And I'm not even going to try that. Nope.
And a horse. And so they did this for years, and everybody was terrified of them. And they had power, they had land, they had money, and nobody could really do anything, right? So fast forward to King James of the Bible, King James Version, and he came to power, and he came in and he says, okay, we got to clear this up. And I'm paraphrasing just in case you wondered. He goes to this area, and he takes all these people, and he says, okay, we're going to knock this off. I'm stripping you of your land, stripping you of your titles. I'm going to give all your land to my buddies and this buddy and this buddy. And 65 of the families were like, okay, and they could stay on as tenant farmers, but that's all they were. Then he took the Armstrongs and the Grahams, and he said, okay, you guys, I'm taking your land too, taking your titles, but you can't stay here as tenant farmers. Y'all got to get out.
You're banished.
I don't know where the Armstrongs went, but the Grahams went to Ireland, and they were afraid that people were going to kill them because they have no power, they have no clout anymore, right?
And they did have a name called Graham.
Called Graham, but they took their name and they flipped it backwards to be Maharg. So if you have Irish Mahargs, they're actually Scottish Grahams. So there you go, little genealogy for you. But you're like, how on earth does this tie into curses? The Grahams were so bad that there was a Presbyterian minister who put a curse on the Grahams. And if you look this up on the internet, he literally curses everything you could possibly think of for the Graham family. It's not like, I curse you. I mean, he literally names every body part.
Like a checklist.
Oh, I'm talking like eyelashes and follicles and the lice in your head and every hair. I mean, your toenail. He literally lists every body part. And then he curses their homes. And again, your walls, your windows, your rugs, your cups. He literally curses and I'm thinking, okay, in the 1600s, you can't have that much stuff, right?
This is a man of the cloth. This is a, religious figure.
We're not even done yet. And then he curses all their animals. He curses the animals' feed. He curses every possible body part on the animals. I mean, this guy did not mess around.
What did your Grahams do to this man?
I know,
he seems
right?
very pissed.
So just so you know, I've got a little bit of a curse on me.
Hope it's diluted a bit.
Me too. Again, that might explain a few things.
That's why your dog's fat.
Hey, I figured it out.
It's the curse.
My dog's fat. He can't.
Curse of the dog food.
You can't get through the dog door.
He cursed the feed. I'm just saying.
Oh, seriously. You read this curse and it almost gets funny as you're reading it. You're like, holy cow, he literally curses everything. And you know that if a man is going to go to that depth to just, probably took him an hour to recite this curse.
Yeah, there's some intent there.
Yeah, he's got some serious intent behind that. But the interesting thing is, as I was trying to find it, it's really, really, really hard to find those Mahargs in Ireland because I think that curse did follow them to a certain extent because they did not have any land. They did not, you find one or two, but it's like, probably more than a handful of you.
Didn't flourish, huh?
They did not do well. Have you ever heard the last name Maharg?
I have.
Yeah, just now?
But from you guys.
Yeah. So that's probably the most serious curse I've ever heard was that one right there.
You guys let's see. What else can we curse? You probably spent a good amount of time on that.
I honestly don't think there was... I think he literally thought of everything he could think of. Literally, there's nothing he didn't curse. Aside from that one, have you guys heard of the Billy Goat curse?
I have not.
It's a sports curse, yes?
It is. It's a sports curse. It's the Chicago Cubs. Do you know the story behind it?
I not off the top of my head, but I do know that the Cubs finally broke said curse. Yes.
Yeah, and not too long ago in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew of the curse, but I never knew how it came about. Did you guys know how it came about?
No.
I'm going to tell you. So in 1945, there was a tavern owner, and his name was William Billy Goat Cyanus. Apparently, again, this is on the internet, so I'm sure it's 100% true, but apparently he was prevented from bringing his pet goat Murphy to Chicago's Wrigley Field to see the Cubs play. And they were playing the Detroit Tigers for the World Series, and was banned from bringing the goat in to watch. Because, I would want to take my goat to the Jazz game.
Who doesn't want to bring their goat to the World Series, right?
Goats like baseball. Come on. He was upset, and he cursed the Cubs, saying that they wouldn't win this or any other World Series ever again.
Yeah, looks like it took 108 years, and they finally broke the curse in 2016. So very recent.
2016, yeah, very recent. I know that the Cubs did not do well for many, 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 many years. You would watch them, and they were the worst.
Right, so this is similar to the Curse of the Bambino, which apparently began when the Boston Red Sox traded Babe Ruth, and I think they traded him in 1919. This curse ended when they won the World Series in 2004.
When they who? The Red
Red
Sox?
Sox.
Red Sox.
And then they won a few more.
Yep. And then, I have no idea how this has anything to do with sports. There's also rapper Lil B's curse on Kevin Durant.
Lil B.
Yep.
Well, Kevin Durant, he's the basketball guy, right?
Is he?
Yes.
Okay, I guess it does have something to do with sports.
Okay.
Sorry.
And
it does.
What is that curse?
So Lil B in 2011 tweeted, and in 2017 put out another tweet. When the Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals that year, and Durant earning the MVP, the sports media jokingly proclaimed that Lil B had helped by lifting the curse. So he cursed him in 2011, and then lifted the curse in 2017.
That was nice.
And then they won it.
And then they won it.
What a sweet.
But only
Wow.
because Lil B
Right.
Lifted the curse.
lifted the curse. Otherwise, they'd be
It
screwed.
would have never happened.
Yeah,
I mean,
Steph
man.
Curry had nothing to do with it.
Absolutely
No.
not.
We're
No.
cursing people over Twitter now. I mean, geez.
Just intent. That's all you need.
How easy is that?
Need some intent.
Mail it in, baby.
That's right. Just hop on the smartphone and start cursing away, guys. Easy.
So, if we move away from sports, there's theater curses.
Ah.
There's the Curse of Macbeth. Have you guys heard of this one? I've
heard of Macbeth.
So I've actually dealt with this. When I was in college, I went to college at Southern University. So I
Wait a
can't even
second.
say the name.
Well, where did you go to college again? I'm not sure I want to enroll my children in said university.
Okay. So I went to Southern Utah University in Cedar City, and that's where the Utah Shakespearean Festival is. And if you're listening to this and you're not from Utah, the Utah Shakespearean Festival won the Tony Award, I don't know, a decade ago or so, for having just the fabulous Shakespearean Festival. And if you ever get a chance, go. They really, really do a great job. And people say to me, I hate Shakespeare, it's so boring, I read it in English. There's a difference between reading it in your 10th grade English class and watching it performed live.
Don't they have like a Globe Theater reproduction down there?
They do. They actually have two. They have an old one and then a new one.
Wow.
But it's fabulous.
How many Globe Theaters does a person need?
2, apparently.
2.
You got 2, you're good. And there's not a bad seat in there. There really isn't. You can't get a bad seat in there. They're all great. Anyway, but the Curse of Macbeth. So this is a very... And curses, superstitions, I don't know. In the world of theater, it's bad luck to wish an actor good luck, right? And that's why you tell them to break a leg. So that might be more like a superstition as far as a curse. But they said it's also bad luck to say the word Macbeth in the theater except during the performance of the play.
Of Macbeth.
This is because historically tragedy has befallen productions of that play. And so it's interesting. They do have they have a counter curse. Is there another name for a counter curse? It seems like there is.
I don't know. A blessing?
No, like
An antidote?
maybe.
I don't know.
We'll call it an antidote. I like that. That sounds cooler than anti-curse. So there's an antidote though. If you happen to do it and say Macbeth when you ought not to, Did you like that? Ought not.
Ought not.
Did it
That
sound
sounds very English.
Did it sound very
Sounds
Shakespearean?
Shakespearean, yes.
When you ought not say the name.
That was more Forrest Gump again. Just saying. Ought not. You ought not to.
Hey, work with me here. It's Shakespeare. If you say it and you shouldn't have, and I hope I get this right, because when I was down there, I worked for the Shakespearean Festival, which sounds pretty cool, right? I was the janitor. I cleaned the bathrooms, so it's not as cool as it sounds.
Wow.
And they didn't have the Tony Award, so
I was involved in a production of Shakespeare.
I cleaned the
I
bathroom.
cleaned the toilet.
and
I'm so proud.
Slap that on the resume, baby. Let's go.
And I was a poor starving college student. The couch that was downstairs in like the old theater building, you could get a good, $10 a change out of there over the course of the Shakespearean Festival.
Heck yeah.
I bought a lot of groceries from the change in that couch.
Oh. What else did you find in the couch?
I don't know. Probably
Stuff.
stuff I don't want to talk about.
Yeah. Used some things.
Anyway,
I
so
don't think I'd want to go through that couch.
probably not.
Anyways.
Sorry.
She was a janitor, and she had
She
those
was-
heavy-duty
Oh,
rubber
she did
gloves.
have the gloves.
And I had to clean the couch, right?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, lots of people sat on that couch and changed a lot. I made bank out of that one. While I was out doing things near the Globe Theater, the actors would be out there practicing. And it was fascinating watching. The whole process was fascinating, actually. If they said the name, you knew it, because they would stop. They would, and I might have this wrong. Someone that's a theater person is going to email and say, that's wrong. But it was something like they would spit and then they would have to turn around 3 times. So if you said Macbeth when you ought not,
You ought not to.
Then you have to spit and turn around.
you spit and turn around 3 times, and then you're okay. Then the curse is lifted.
Fabulous.
Saw that all the time. It was happening all the time. And they believe it, and they do it.
Okay.
Sounds like a lot of paranoia, but hey.
Right.
It's a
Well,
curse. And
it's
if
a
you
curse.
don't follow it, your production is going to just gone.
It's a lot of time and effort that goes into those things. I guess spitting on the ground and spinning around a few times.
It's an antidote,
It's probably worth it.
Right.
I'm sure.
And there was one actor when I was down there, and this has been years and years ago, but he was saying it all the time. I thought he was going to get dizzy and just like die one of these days because he was always out there just spinning like a top. It's like, you're new, aren't you? You're not supposed to do that. I'm the janitor, and I know you're not supposed to say that name.
And here you are like mopping the floor after all these people are spitting on the ground. Ugh. I hate you all.
I also found out, this has nothing to do with curses whatsoever, but if you mix peanut butter and oil,
Wait, where are
With
we
some
going
food coloring.
with this?
you make fake blood.
Right.
Oh.
I had to clean up a lot more fake blood than I had to clean up spit. But they would make it with peanut. I don't remember what
I
they
just
mixed
thought you
with
were
in it.
sharing like delicious lunch recipes from the Shakespearean Festival or something.
Let's take a break in our curses talk and let's talk about
really love
peanut
peanut
butter
butter and
sandwiches.
And we're going to call them blood sandwiches.
Oh, hey, that's good.
Great.
So there's also the curse. Okay, so we've done theater, we've done sports. Why don't we hit a little politics?
Politics.
Politics sound good?
Always
So don't worry, we won't go there. But the curse of Tippecanoe, it's also called Tecumseh's curse. And you know Tippecanoe, Tyler too? The whole thing with William Henry Harrison. So in the mid-20th century, the media started noticing a pattern in presidential deaths. And it started with William Henry Harrison and ended with John F. Kennedy. And it was every 20 years in the country elected a president who would die in office.
That's not infrequent.
Nope. So Harrison was actually the first president to die in office. And he was elected in 1840. And then the other presidents after him was Abraham Lincoln, who was elected in 1860. There was James Garfield, who was elected in 1880. William McKinley was elected in 1900. Warren G. Harding was 1920. Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1940. And JFK, who was elected in 1960. So the only president between Harrison and JFK that kind of missed this curse was Zachary Taylor.
And Ronald Reagan.
We're just talking about to JFK. Ronald Reagan he was assassinated. He
was shot, yes.
Well, yeah, no, he had an attempted assassination. Why am I on the show? Why do I do this? How come you guys haven't fired me yet? Holy cow. So after JFK.
Because you're the producer.
Chad's the producer. I'm the director.
She's the director.
Oh,
She's
the
director for sure.
Now you're the director. Well, you have to fire yourself.
I know, honestly. So in the 1930s, Ripley's Believe It or Not. Do you guys remember that show?
I do.
I love that show.
That is a great show.
And the books.
The books. And there's a museum in
There
Jackson
is.
Hole.
There used to be. It's gone now.
Is it gone?
But I did just go to a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum in Texas. They have one in San Antonio, and they have one in the Dallas area.
And I seen one in Oregon.
They need to bring
in
the one back to
Newport.
Jackson Hole. They're amazing. Anyway, if you get a chance, go. They're awesome. But they claimed that the pattern was due to a curse from a Shawnee chief Tecumseh that was placed on Harrison and future presidents after Harrison's troops defeated Tecumseh in the Battle of Tippecanoe.
Wow.
All right.
So, there you go.
That was Ripley's claim.
Yes.
All right.
Believe it.
Or not.
There you go. Who was the guy that narrated that?
Jack Palance.
He was awesome.
He could do one-armed push-ups at the Oscars.
Yes, he could. So,
Remember that?
Yes.
No,
Rogue is looking at me like, I think you've lost it.
I have no idea. That's all. That's all. Good.
Didn't he do it like he was 80 years old when he did that, right?
Yeah.
He was like super old. Was it there on the stage doing one-armed push-ups?
Interesting.
He was Curly in Sleety Slickers.
Nice. Okay.
City Slickers 2.
I think both.
Yay, it's not just me.
Because wasn't it Curly's Curse?
Oh my goodness.
It's something in the water here today. The last one we'll kind of chat about is the Hope Diamond Curse.
How big is the Hope Diamond?
The Hope Diamond, for a long time, they thought it was 44 carats.
It's at the Smithsonian, right?
Yes, it's currently at the Smithsonian.
I
Seen
was
it.
going to say, I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
Right, so for the longest time, they thought it was 44.6 carats, and apparently it's 45.2.
Oh. Wow, who could have made such an
So-
awful miscalculation there?
So just so you know, don't mess that up.
Okay.
The belief behind it was anybody who owned it was cursed and got bad luck. And it changed hands a bazillion times. And
Did they
it's-
talk about the origin? I thought it had something to do with plucking a jewel from like
Some
an Indian
Hindu
goddess statue or something.
Yeah, there was a French gem dealer named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. I hope I said that right. And it was about the 1660s. It says that the diamond of unknown origin was obtained during a trip to India.
He's just like, hey guys, I found this.
Look what I found.
It's already been cut and everything. Wow.
But it does say that a myth had started by the 20th century that said he stole it from the statue of a Hindu goddess. And the newspapers and jewelers kind of
Talked that up.
talked it up and ramped it up to kind of bring some mystique behind it. But it's one of those things. Is there really a curse, or just the fact that people tell you a curse makes it cursed?
Right.
Too much noise.
And to that point, we were talking about curses, so I've been doing some research. It is incredible the number of haunted or cursed objects you can find on Etsy and eBay. And a lot of it makes you can find profiles that will say, oh, this clown doll has the following attributes from a child that's whatever, trapped within it, or, a spirit that's there. And it made me wonder, I'm willing to bet overwhelmingly most of these objects, it's probably total BS. But I think as long as the buyer attributes that power to it, there's probably some potential for problems.
Exactly. Again, it's all about belief and intent. And, someone says, I want to sell this for 10 times more than it's worth. I'm going to say it's cursed.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently there's a market for this, because you can go to reviews and they're like, oh, this doll I bought that's haunted is so cute and plays little games and stuff, which
Oh,
I don't know if that's something I want to be screwing with.
Right. And for me, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not going to buy that one. Next.
Yeah, I don't support our viewers going to eBay and looking for a haunted clown doll.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad idea.
It really does sound like a very bad idea. John Zaffis, did I say his name right?
John Zaffis. Yes.
Thank you. The most common doll in his museum are the clown dolls.
Did he talk about why? I guess we can wait till our next podcast for this.
You're
but
going
our
to have to
bonus
listen to the
podcast.
bonus podcast to get the answer to this question.
That was just a spoiler.
Exactly. So, any more that we want to delve into curses?
So I just wanted to throw my little Mediterranean part into that.
Ooh, yes.
So when you told me about curses, I actually wear an evil eye on my necklace. It's something that my mom wears on her necklace from, again, the island of Malta in the Mediterranean. But as I looked into the curse of the evil eye, it goes back into Hindu. It's a very, very old curse. And it's one that is put on people when they don't even realize it. It's one created off of envy. So even seeing my mom yesterday, and I told her I was going to have this conversation, she does this to me. Not that any of you all can see this.
This thing.
This little hand movement that's supposedly putting the curse on you. And then so for us to wear this little jewel on it, it gives it, we notice it and we send it back. So this is my protector from the evil eye.
It's interesting you mentioned the evil eye because you see that, like you said, in a lot of cultures. With a lot of our Latinos that I see at the hospital, it's called mal de ojo, same thing, the evil eye. And it is actually a medical diagnosis. I can find that on my ICD codes when I put in diagnoses. Mal de ojo is on there.
The evil eye.
The evil eye.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't know what billing's like for that. But,
right? What insurance code is that one?
Like, I don't know that evil eyes are going to fly for this. You're not going to get reimbursed. But I was surprised to see it was on there. You know, it was one of those things where I had a patient that said, I think my daughter is sick because of mal de ojo. And the way that they look at it is that envy thing. A lot of times they worry that if they look at like a baby and they think it's cute, that they have to they have to go up and touch it basically to undo the envy that was placed on that child. And if you don't get the opportunity, the child may get sick.
Oh,
wow.
And so if you ever see little Latina grandmas coming up and touching your babies, it's probably because they thought your baby was cute and didn't want to have any harm come to it, so they come up and touch it.
So they're not being creepy?
They're not being creepy. It's just a cultural thing. But I was quite surprised to find out that this was listed as a diagnosis.
Oh, that's interesting.
that is interesting. So something to make the patient feel more at ease so they're not loco, right?
I assume. I don't know.
That is interesting.
I also wonder if you don't bill for it, they just see it on their
Yeah.
outpatient discharge sheet.
I'm sure no insurance company is going to be like, sure, mal de ojo, we'll go with that. Probably something else like fever or, vomiting. Might be a little better.
Right.
But hey, if you throw mal de ojo on there as a diagnosis, it does actually show up.
That is
Interesting.
hilarious.
No, I think just the whole premise behind intent and belief is interesting with curses.
And lastly, get your Supernatural Hour swag at advancedparanormal.com. Go to the merchandise tab and get all sorts of things. T-shirts, mugs.
I have a tapestry now.
Tapestries.
So now I need to see if there's hats on there. If there's not, I'm going to add them.
I'm pretty sure there's hats.
Because I think I need a hat now. I've got a tapestry. I can't want that now.
Okay. So anyway, go out there, get your Supernatural Hour swag through our page on advancedparanormal.com.
Stay spooky, my haunty friends. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.